Drum for the Song podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Drum for the Song podcast. I am your host, Dane Campbell, and today's guest is the very, very awesome Mike Heaton from Embrace. I'm so happy that Mike agreed to come on the show because not only is he a drummer in a number one album selling indie band, he's also the director of Code Drumheads, which is a relatively new drumhead brand that tries to rival the big boys, Remo, Evans and Aquarian. So we'll talk about that later on. All in all, it's a great conversation with Mike. He's a top guy. And if you're listening via the audio-only version, there is a section where he shows off some of his drums in his studio, so you might want to check out the YouTube version for that. But one of the most fascinating things was the budgets involved back in the 90s with bands, how much they spent on recording and making music videos was absolutely crazy compared to today. So, you've got to listen really to find out how much money was spent. It's incredible. Although Mike plays drums in an indie band, he confesses he's actually more into his rock and punk music. So he also talks about some of his favorite bands, what he's listening to right now. And that's pretty cool to know that he's a rocker at heart, really. Please make sure you're following me on social media. On Facebook, I've got the Drum for the Song official Facebook group, and you can like my page, Dane Campbell Drummer. If you're on Instagram and Twitter, you've got the Drum for the Song account, but you've also got Dane_drums if you want to follow my personal account. So please give me a follow and let me know when you're listening to the podcast. If you stick around until the interview finishes, I will talk about how you can also support me on my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/drum for the song. You can sign up for monthly payments, and in return, I'll give you bonus episodes, Zoom Q&A calls, and loads of other things. So check it out. So let's just get on with it. Enjoy my conversation with Mike Heaton from Embrace.
Drum for the Song podcast.
Hey guys, this is Drum for the Song podcast. My name is Dane Campbell. I'm here with Mike Heaton today, who's the drummer in Embrace. Hi Mike, how's it going?
And you all right? Yeah, it's good. Yeah, really good. Good to talk to you.
It's a nice room you've got there. Some nice drums I can see.
Yeah, this is my sort of teaching and recording. So I record, it's all, can't see it, but there's the Pro Tools all set up and everything. This kit's all fully mic'd, and the other kit's that's my, I actually didn't get it too long ago. It's a 74 Ludwig, but it's a 26-inch bass drum.
Nice.
It's a beast.
I bet it is.
But this one, this kit here actually is my it's my British Drum Company kit because I'm endorsed by them.
Amazing.
And they produce beautiful drum kits.
They seem to, yeah. Relatively new company, so maybe we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
In a little bit later when we talk about your gear.
Mm-hmm.
But do you mind talking about how you originally got into drums and drumming and how you learned, etc., please?
Yeah, I mean, it's going back to when I was 11 years old. And what happened was I was really into punk at the time. So we're going back to the late 70s. And I just wanted to be, Steve Jones from the Pistols. Steve Jones and his white Les Paul was my, he was my god. It was like, oh, yeah. So on my 11th birthday, I'd kind of asked for this electric guitar, and my dad was kind of quite traditional. He'd done a little bit of core drumming, I think, when he was in the army. I woke up on my 11th birthday and I had a snare drum. There was no white Les Paul. There was a snare drum. But then I just fell for the drums. And according to my mum, I kind of just fell into playing basic grooves straight away, really. It sort of came naturally to me, which was a bit of a, I don't know, I wish it hadn't in a way, because I kind of got to a reasonable level quite quickly. So, me being the arrogant young thing I was, didn't think I needed lessons, to learn all these stupid rudiment type things. So I did. I went to one tutor in Bradford who was can't even remember his name. He was rubbish. He just got me trying to play Hotel California.
All right.
And then out to another teacher who I won't mention his name because he was a really good player and a good teacher. But we were talking about this earlier today on a different interview, that it's really important to find the teacher that works for you. And this teacher kind of showed me rudiments, but didn't show me what the cool part about them was, what you could do with them. If he had said to me, look, listen to John Bonham doing this, that's all rudiments and stuff, and Buddy Rich, but he didn't. And I struggled very much with doubles. So I just gave up. I literally gave up on the double side of things and just got on with playing, mainly singles, obviously little roughs and stuff like that, but just playing. And then just went through various bands like that. And it wasn't until probably 4 albums in with Embrace that I got so frustrated that I couldn't do what my drumming heroes did, that I went back again, found another 2 drum teachers, didn't work for me. Then found a guy called Rich Wilson, and we just clicked. And I went back and spent 2 years literally learning everything I should have learned when I was 13, 14. But I was 35. I'd kind of let it run on. So it's hard work, but I managed to hopefully nail it. And then it was after that I started teaching, because I kind of thought, okay, I want to pass on my knowledge to other people and say, don't do what I did, because it was completely the wrong thing to do. Obviously, it got me into the career that I've got now. I'm very thankful for. And maybe if I was, strange thing to say, but if I was too good, it wouldn't have worked out with the band I'm in, because a lot of the stuff is relatively simple. But what I did learn was to love the simplicity of drumming as well, not having to overplay all the time. Sorry, going to a completely different subject now. But anyway, that's where I started.
That's absolutely perfect, because I have a very similar story to that, in that I learned from a young age. I didn't have lessons. I wasn't really encouraged to have lessons, which is annoying looking back on it. My dad used to be a drummer before he played guitar. So he taught me some of the basics, and I kind of just grew as a drummer from there, from listening and watching other drummers. And I was never kind of encouraged to go and have lessons or offered lessons. So again, I didn't learn any of that kind of stuff. I was probably playing some of it and not realizing. I remember I knew what a paradiddle was, and I used to apply that sometimes because I'd learned it. But as for all the other things, no one ever showed me. And I started having lessons only for maybe a year or two with a guy in Cardiff called Elliot Bennett, he's a great teacher. I went to him because I wanted to expand my playing. I wanted to not just play rock, because I'd only ever really played rock and punk and anything that kind of style. And I was like, right, I need to expand how I play. And he did. He showed me some of the Latin rhythms, African rhythms. I didn't nail any of them, but it got me thinking.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, a lot of it was just like, I can't comprehend what you're doing there, or how it's counted, how it relates to, how is that in 4/4? Because apparently it was all in 4/4, and I was like, I don't understand. But I think maybe if I was younger, being shown all that, I would have understood it more. I think learning as an adult is a lot harder. Your brain doesn't take things in as well and as quickly, and it doesn't retain information. But
that's kind of one of the main things that I pass on to a lot of my students, that do it young. Your brain's like a sponge. When you get to my age, your brain's like a rock. Nothing goes in.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm 34 now, so I'm a little bit younger than you, but still, I learned something, and if I don't practice it and I go back to it, like a few weeks later, won't have a clue, no idea. So you've got to keep practicing. But and what you said about the simplicity thing, this whole podcast, the name of it is Drum for the Song, which is something I always try and do. I'm not into overplaying, and it's quite interesting that you mentioned that without me even asking you. So that's cool. And I was going to say, you're from listening to your records, I don't think I've ever heard one part where I thought, oh, it's a bit too busy there on the drums. But it's perfectly suits the music you're playing.
That's again, Dane. That's something that I particularly do when I'm teaching, because I've only got a small number of students. It's only obviously part of what I do, but I love sitting down and just picking up the bass and playing along with them, and just saying, look, this is kind of how it's going to be in a band. You've got to learn to play time with locking with the bass, obviously, but play for the song. When I was a younger drummer, the band I was in before Embrace were called Big Spread, which I thought made complete sense, but the rest of the band thought it was hilarious. Basically, we had a French singer called Francois, who was like a cross between Elvis and Anthony Kiedis, and it was very. It was like, Chili Peppers with Elvis up front, and it was very funky and complicated drumming and a few odd time signatures. So when I got into Embrace, and the reason that band finished actually bizarrely was that our singer Francois got deported.
Oh wow!
So that was back to Marseille, and that was the end of it. The band split up, and I loved the band; it was great, but it obviously gave me the opportunity to join Embrace. First 2 years of Embrace, we were really, really overcomplicated, gothy type music. We didn't realise. We thought we were groundbreaking, but we weren't. We were just like a goth band. And then we had this moment where we got a review that basically said, the lowest common denominator of this, that, and the other. And we sort of looked at our music and went, oh yeah, it's not very good, is it? And we spent a year, and that's when we completely changed and became what everyone knows is the sound of Embrace, and went to the studio, and I had to calm my drumming right down to the point where at first it was frustrating because it was like dum cat dum dum cat, all these really slow little grooves to the ballads. But then I grew to just to love just playing simple grooves. You look at Ringo or whatever, Charlie Watts, playing these simple grooves and just making them, nailing them, and making them do exactly what the song needs.
Yep.
And that's something very much I work with my students. I'm not a technical player. I do beginners to intermediate players. I teach them how to get off the ground and how to play in a band, basically.
Cool.
And then if they want to go somewhere after that and learn all the real technical stuff, I'll pass them on to somebody like Rich Wilson and go, there you go, there's the next part of your journey.
That's really cool to know, because a lot of people have always told me, oh, you should get into teaching. You'd be a great teacher. And I'm like, I don't know enough stuff to teach people. But I could potentially do. Yeah, I think I could probably do what you're doing. And I've always considered that, but I thought, if you're getting sent like a kid by a parent, they probably expect them to come home with homework and all this written stuff. And I'm like, I'm not really into that. But maybe that is something I could consider, because I've grown up playing in bands since I was 13. So I know how to do that.
And you will know a lot more than you know, because it wasn't even me who thought about teaching. It was Rick, our guitarist, who said, it was when we were having a break back in after 2006. We had a couple of years off before we started working on the next album. And he said, why don't you teach? I said, I don't know enough to teach. He said, yeah, you do. You'd be surprised. And then when I spent that 2 years, a couple of years previous to that, going back into all this stuff I should have learned, I just thought, and I used this analogy that Rick, again, passed on to me with a lot of things. He said, think of it like, jump and the net will appear. And after we had a break in 2006, we weren't sure if we were ever going to come back again. And suddenly I was faced with, having had, 3 number 1 albums with this band, having spent the last 10 years doing nothing but Embrace, thinking, shit, what am I going to do now? Through another guy I know, Rich Huxley, who's in a band called Hope and Social, he hooked me up with some mentoring for a council, a local council, and I said, I'll try that. And I started doing that, and I loved it. Just working with young bands and helping them to do basically that, how to learn to put the band together and promote the band and play together and dynamics and stuff like that. I did that for about 2-3 years while there was a lot of money in that sort of council side, and started doing lectures then around various colleges, just about the industry, just talking about what we'd been through, to try and give young students an idea of what the industry was, although it's changed massively in the last 10 years. So,
Yeah, exactly. It's hard. Obviously, the musical aspect of it can still be applied, but the business side has completely changed. So it is hard to kind of teach people how you did it, because that's not really a likely way that they might succeed now, because the industry works in a completely different way. So,
well, I mean, even over the last 6 months, obviously.
Yeah.
It's changed dramatically, and obviously I'm going to retrain next week, just in case anyone was wondering.
And claim your 20%.
Yeah, I don't know what I'll retrain. I was apparently going to Rishi Sunak, I should retrain. So,
Did Oh, go on.
Go on, no, go on.
I was going to say, did you do the questionnaire online, the government questionnaire, and then recommends what industries you could go into?
I didn't, but Steve, our bass player, I was speaking to him yesterday, and he asked me if I'd done it. I said no, and he said he did it, and guess what it came back as?
Musician? Yeah. Well, I didn't get a musician. I did get a teacher, which was interesting,
Okay.
and then health. Was it health? No, health. Something to do with like teaching people about health. I don't know how they worded it. And then I, yeah, something like that. And then I had mechanic. I was like, I'm the complete, most useless person in the entire world at knowing about cars and how to fix cars. I don't know how that came up. And just generally doing things with my hands, I'm awful. So,
but I mean, you imagine somebody has been paid a fortune to develop that.
yeah,
and everything, and it's I don't know.
and they're getting a pay rise next year as well.
Yeah, it's just laughable. I remember when I was at school, we had to fill in a questionnaire about what your careers thing, and I filled it in, and I vividly remember it came back with the top one was an ergonomist. Do you know what an ergonomist is?
I don't, to be honest.
Right. Well, I didn't either. It's basically it's when if you're sitting in a car, and it's how you position things to be.
Ergonomics.
Ergonomics. Yeah. So an ergonomist or whatever it was called. So I thought, yeah, that's useful. So obviously, I mean, I know how to set my drum kit up so I can reach the bits. So I presume that's maybe that's where it came from.
That is similar, yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you make money out of that? I don't know. How do you exactly? How is that a career?
God knows. Yeah, there must be somebody owning it. But anyway, that's
that's cool, man. So so going back from maybe having some reviews that weren't so great to having a #1 debut album, which is amazing. What can you kind of describe what that was like going through that experience and just finding out your album went to #1 and like what were you doing then?
It was bizarre because once the band had got up and running and we'd found our feet, and then we decided to do these showcase. Well, no, sorry, I'll rewind a bit. We looked for a manager. So first and foremost, we went to find a manager before we found a record deal, and we had a demo that we'd done, which we're really proud of, and we sent that to loads of management in London, and we got a load of replies. And Danny and Rick actually went down to London because I was working full time, as was Steve. That was the deal. They were doing the thing on the dole, and then we were working to pay for the band to function with rehearsals. So they went down, met these managers, and singled out. There were two on the cards, and the one we ended up going with was a guy called Tony Perrin. And Tony was working with All About Eve and The Mission. He managed both of them. And we went with him in 1996, and we are still with him to this day.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
So he's taken us through countless record deals. We've been dropped God knows how many times, re-signed, American deals, etc. And he's guided us through all of those over the last 24 years. And he's still there with us, still there working with us, and there's a very close bond, and it just kind of works, because I get a lot of young bands coming in recording in my studio, because I record bands, but just generally sort of local bands, helping them sort of getting through, doing it at really good prices, because it's not really a commercial studio. But lots of them will say, "Oh, Con, give me some advice on management." I'm like, I don't know. We've had the same manager for 24 years. I don't know any other managers. We were lucky. We found the right person for us, and we haven't had to look elsewhere. So we did that, and we found Tony. He arranged then some showcase gigs at a place called the Duchess in Leeds, very famous small pub venue that everyone had been to. Nirvana, Pearl Jam, the whole lot when they were first starting. I saw Suede on the first album there, PJ Harvey on the first tour there.
Wow.
And we did these 3 showcases, and strangely enough, well, not strangely enough, but a lot of record labels came up. Bizarrely, on one night, just before going on, Tony said, "Oh, by the way, Butch Vig's here."
What?
Just got over from France, because this other guy had heard about us, and he'd come over. I'm like, "You're telling us this just before we're about to go on and do a showcase?"
Yeah, you don't want to know that, do you, really?
So we did those, and after those gigs, a few labels were interested, and the one that we went with was Hut Records, part of Virgin, run by David Boyd, fantastic guy, just fantastic for us. He just, he recently brought the Smashing Pumpkins over to Hutt in the UK. He had the verve. Plus quite a striking roster of acts at that time. And he was great. He basically said, do whatever you want to do. Let us sign a contract with full artistic control. So, we could do whatever we wanted. And we did. We just spent a load of money recording. In hindsight, big advances should have been maybe kept for a rainy day. But I think the first 2 albums, and this is what amazes a lot of students when I did talks, both of our first 2 albums cost between 300,000 and 400,000 each to record. Wow. Which, if you look at it at this day and age, it just wouldn't happen unless you were selling millions of copies. Plus the videos on top of that,
It's insane amount, yeah.
Well, even though we've sold close to 2 million albums, we've never earned a penny from selling records. Not one penny.
You've never recouped?
Never recouped. Because it was all advance videos, which are half recoupable, as I'm sure you'll know. So you've got all that cost, and you PR, everything else, going on the account. So we never earned a penny from that. So all these people that saw these #1 albums and thought I was driving a Ferrari and living in a castle. Not really. I mean, obviously we did well, and we've had a 24-year career out of it. But that's based on live and merchandise and publishing.
Yeah, people need to know this. Yeah,
nothing on selling. Nothing at all on selling.
And that's the 3 #1 albums in total.
Yeah.
And didn't they pretty much all get the top 10? Most of them, vast majority.
Yeah. I think I'm racking my brains now. I think they were all. Yeah, I think 9 was the lowest entry point. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. But it's just bonkers.
People don't realize, they assume you're in the charts and they assume you're a millionaire. Especially, that's mad. And I guess, go on.
No, I was going to say, you probably find bands that work their asses off at, a level or slightly lower level, that tour a lot more than we did, because we never toured too much. Probably end up making more money because it's the live side that was just generating the income. Yeah,
well, that's definitely how, like, my band and most other bands I know, is they rely on this live and merch. Record sales is pointless. If you can sell some on the road, great, but people are mainly buying them because you're signing them because they want the signed copy. But you don't don't get a penny back from sales.
Or they want to buy the vinyl so they can just put it on the wall.
Yeah. Thankfully, there are still collectors, especially in our, I guess, my band. It's kind of a hard rock audience, so there's a lot of people that have come from that world of vinyl collecting. And our new album that's coming out now, we're doing like a few different versions of the vinyl, and people are buying all 3 of them, which is, we're really thankful for that, because if we didn't have that, it would really, well, especially this year, we would really have struggled.
Well, it's great. I mean, vinyl, let's face it, vinyl is just amazing, in many ways. Coloured vinyl I'm still a sucker for coloured vinyl. You get something like a splatter or a red or a bright, it's a work of art. And then, of course, you've got all the artwork. An album is just about big enough to be a proper piece of work of art, really. Whereas a CD was never kind of that size. Didn't work. The design needed to be big on an album.
I definitely appreciate that now, because I grew up with CDs, because I was born in '86, so it was CDs were the new thing, and that's what I was used to. But then now I get to see the artwork in high resolution. I don't know if that's the right word, but you can actually see the detail of the artwork, and you can appreciate how much has gone into it. And it's amazing. So.
Completely. Interesting enough, when you said that when you were born, I think I saw your dad the year before you were born.
Was it? Yeah. Amazing. Where was that?
I think, if I get it right, I saw Motorhead a few times because I was just always a massive fan, and I think, because that would have been about your dad's time, would it, about 80?
Yeah, he joined in, I think, 83 or 84 he joined. Yeah,
I think it was at Bradford University. I think it was Bradford University on the Iron Fist, would it have been, or the tour after that? I can't
Probably.
remember. Yeah.
I don't know much before I was born, because I've never really bothered to go back. But I've heard it all at some point. I get a bit confused with the order of everything.
Yeah, but anyway, that was just an aside. But yeah, it's like you say, vinyl has been a lifeline to a lot of bands really to be able to sell that, because that's the only thing. I mean, obviously CD sales are plummeting
Yeah.
and will eventually disappear.
Hmm.
Vinyl won't. Streaming is the future, regardless of what you think of it. It is the future.
It is. Yeah, you've got to accept it. I use it as a consumer as well. So,
So do I. I mean, a lot of
yeah,
people. I can slag off Spotify here, and
yeah,
I can love it here. I think it's an amazing tool. To be able to just, because I've been doing a lot of walking over the last 6 months, and just be able to just go, oh, what shall I listen to, and just put it on. I've discovered loads and loads of new bands through it, but personally, I earn bugger all through it because
yeah.
as we all know that you get whatever, I can't remember, 0.004 pence per player, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
If they got that right.
Yeah, I think, and there's a lot of pressure now from people in the industry to kind of make that fairer for the artist, whether that will take a few years or whether it'll happen at all. People know that guy's a billionaire of people's subscriptions, so why is it all going to him and not the people providing the entertainment? So
Yeah, I mean, it does get siphoned off by the record companies, which people tend to stop, slagging off, but they still take a chunk out of it as well, obviously. So it's got to be a joint. It's got to be a joint thing.
Yeah.
Or we just go direct, and don't have record companies, which is the other model. Because obviously now not obviously, but a lot of bands are going and signing record servicing deals rather than record deals. It's changing on that side of things, and a lot of people can record their own. We recorded our last 2 albums ourselves, self-produced in our own studios, and we're lucky to be able to do that. So we can go out there, we can record a whole album, and then just go to Tony, our manager.
There you go.
Sell that. There's no cost involved to the record label.
Yeah, there's no massive upfront recording costs or anything.
No.
Yeah.
And because of technology, I've recorded stuff in this room which is like 13 feet square. I've recorded stuff that's been released and sounds as good as albums that we've recorded at Olympic Studios in London years ago that costs stupid amounts of money. I've learned a lot over the last 15 years about recording, and we spent a lot of money. We hired a stately home in the Cotswolds for the second album, which was insane because it was like a 20-odd bedroom mansion. We put a studio in it, radio had just come out of it, and we spent 12 weeks there with living caterers. It was insane. I wish we'd have saved the money so we had some more money, but it's an experience that we'll never forget.
Yeah, exactly. People aren't doing that now. So you did that, and I guess maybe that's what people did back then. There was money in the industry, and that's what people did, and that's kind of what it was expected.
It was that they just said, "What do you want?" and we said, "We want this," and they said, "You can have it." And that's when they do that, then you get used to it. But going back to what you said about the first album, we did these showcases and then got the deal and recorded the album over the year and did 2 or 3 EPs as well, I think. And I think because we got caught up in this whirlwind of being touted as the next. I mean, it was in a way a bit lazy because we were from the north and we had 2 brothers and we were quite bolshy. So it was natural. The next Oasis was the thing that came up, but it works in our favor as well. I think we just kind of expected the album to do well, which is bizarre, and it did well. And we weren't like, we were like, oh, great, yeah, we deserve this. It wasn't until we came back, and the next album that went to the moon was the 4th album that we really enjoyed and were really amazed at why it had happened. First time round, I don't know. I think when you're in your first band, you just think you're invincible and you are the best band in the world. So why would we not go to number 1?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. But no, it was misguided, and we enjoyed it a lot more probably second time round. Really
nice. It was that 4th album because I've been listening to a lot of this stuff over the last few weeks, and it's the 4th album is the one I remember that my younger brother Tyler. I remember he was he was a pretty big fan of you guys, and I remember hearing. Well, I listened to it thinking I just know the singles, and I put the whole album on. I was like, oh, I know all of these songs.
Hmm.
And I did a little bit of research, and it said that it was one of the lead singles written by Chris Martin. And what was the relationship with that, and how did that happen?
So basically, when we were doing our second album, Drawn from Memory, when we came to release it, we decided to do 2 nights at the Blackpool Tower Ballroom, which is the ballroom underneath the tower.
Wow.
Not surprisingly, called the
Pretty,
Tower Ballroom.
yeah, it's
Anyway,
pretty cool though.
it's where they do. Not that you'd be aware of this, but it's where they film the Strictly Come Dancing final type thing when they go and do.
Okay.
There you go. Very ornate. So we did that, and then we got the support bands in. We had JJ72 and a few other bands, and one of the sports bands was Coldplay, and they were just releasing their first EP. So we watched them, we met them, became friends with them. Danny particularly became friends with Chris. And then fast forward a couple of 2-3 years time, and we were working on the fourth album, Out of Nothing, and we pretty much finished it. And Chris got in touch with Danny and said, "I've got this song that I've written," and they had played it live, but they did a very, very, very slow version of it. And said, it just doesn't work with the band, and we all thought it'd work for you guys. So we said, well, I don't know about that. We've never taken anyone else's song. We've always written our own songs, but we said, okay, we'll do a demo. Demoed it. Obviously, the record company were like, oh yeah, at this point, Coldplay were just pretty much huge. They just reached that sort of level. They just gone massive. So we did a demo of it, and it worked out really well. Gravity, and then we decided to put it on the album. So it's the only song that we haven't written on any album we've ever done.
Right.
And I still thank Chris for it, because we'd had a 3-year break then. Well, not 3-year break. We'd been writing and recording the album for 3 years. It was quite tough. And we came back with that single, and it put, I think it went about number 6 or 7 or something, and it's put us back on the right trajectory. And and Chris has he did that for us, which was great. And then 3 years ago, he asked us to support them at the Principality for 2 nights.
Fantastic.
He said, I've been listening to a lot of your stuff and realizing how much it influenced me to start the band. So do you fancy just supporting us at the Principality for 2 nights? We said, hang on a sec, let me think about that.
I know.
Okay, go on then, we will do.
Go on. Go on.
go on. So we did that in whatever it was, 2017. So they've been good to us, and they're just nice guys that produce great music. What a voice.
Yeah, exactly. I think unfortunately, I've never seen them live. They're kind of one of those bands where I would love to see them live. I've just never had the opportunity to really do it, or I've been away, or I haven't been at that festival they headlined. I
saw them obviously back in the day when they supported us, and then on the tour after that. Then not for years. And then when we did the Principality shows with them a couple of years ago, we did our first set, and then I went out to watch them, and absolutely, I was just blown away. Absolutely, the show, the songs, everything that came together. It was just, I was, and you watch something and you just go, yeah, okay, I understand why you're as big as you are. That was phenomenal. I mean, fair enough, the special effects and everything that goes with it were phenomenal, but the underlying thing is the band was great, and the songs were great. So
the songs. This shows how important the songs are, because that's what it is. A lot of people I know, I like his voice, but a lot of people don't like Chris's voice. But it's unique. It's him when you hear it, and I think that obviously helps.
Yeah.
He's just got that distinguishable kind of tone in the way he sings, and he can write amazing songs. So don't know why anyone bothers critiquing him. So, but the other thing I wasn't aware of, being a Welshman, to be honest, is that you did a song for the England football team in 2006. What did you have to apply for that? Did they come to you, or how did that work?
Okay, that was they'd used basically in sports that they'd been using our songs because the anthems, so to speak. for a lot of sport for a good few years. Well, since we started, really, all football tended to love them because there were these big anthemic songs that worked well behind the commentary or whatever. And they came to us. And you see, I know nothing about sport or football,
Right.
so it was the Football Association, wherever it is. They came to us and they asked us a couple of times. We were like, nah, not doing it. And then in the end, we sort of said, well, okay, but we're not writing a song specifically. And we looked at stuff we had that we hadn't quite finished for the fifth album. And we had this song, I think it's called the Mountain Song, the rough version. And so Danny rewrote some lyrics, and they said, oh, and they heard it, and they said, yeah, this is great. Can you just sort of put, words like score a goal, back of the net and stuff? And we said, no, if you want it, you want it. It's called World at Your Feet. It's, about football, and they said, yeah, we'll go for it. Everyone was telling it's the best thing we could possibly do. The album will go stratospheric. You'll be millionaires by next year.
Right.
Record label, and so we did it, and it was it was an interesting experience. We went to the PFA Awards and things, and played there and met the footballers. And
you weren't into football, so that's a shame.
No, some of them were nice, some of them were arseholes.
All right.
And we did it. I'm very proud to do it for England, but
Yeah.
It didn't. It actually stopped album sales. Although the single went at number 2, I think. Did really, number 2. It just kind of, I don't know. It had a weird effect on our fan base. Maybe they sort of went, "What the hell are they doing?" And it was after that year that we had a break for quite a long period of time. Although it raised our profile massively,
yeah,
it wasn't necessarily great for what the band wanted to do, so we had to sort of take a bit of time to reassess what we were about. Strangely enough, 2 years before that, we actually won the Best Live Band in Wales award.
Best live band in Wales.
How about that? Yeah, we've still got the award somewhere. Was it Pop
cool.
Factory? Pop Factory?
Yeah, the Pop Factory. All right, okay, yeah. That's really close to where I live.
Is it in that old mill?
Yeah, yeah. It's about 25-minute drive away from where I live.
Yeah.
They used to have a TV show, and they
That's
used
right.
to have. Yeah, you were on there, were you?
We were, yeah, we're on there a couple of times, and then I think it was through them that the awards, some
Probably.
sort of Welsh Music Awards or whatever it was. And yeah, we came down and won Best Live Band for 1 year. I can't remember which year it was, but
Cool.
There you go. That's interesting.
That is interesting. There you go. It is strange to know then that the kind of football single maybe had a negative effect that I wouldn't have expected. But I'm sorry for bringing it up if it doesn't bring great memories.
No, we had a lot of great memories from doing it, and but it just didn't kind of pan out exactly how. We pushed it back, and we were pushed into doing it. Really, I think.
Okay.
And maybe in hindsight, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard because you don't know. You don't know what it could have changed after that. So we did it. We had a laugh, and I think we were doing the Forest tour that summer, and I think England were in all the way through until. This sounds stupid, until they got knocked out, obviously. But I think it was on the last day of the Forest tour or something. But yeah, strangely enough, I was digging the t-shirt, going through my old t-shirts the other day, and my daughter, who's 14, was digging out the old football t-shirts that we had made. We had our own crest made and everything.
Oh wow, yeah.
And so yeah, she's wearing those now, which is quite cool.
That is very cool. And it's a shame you weren't a football fan yourself, because you had a really good squad then. I think Beckham was still involved. And did you meet Beckham or anything?
Didn't meet Beckham. Who did I meet? Can't remember.
No, it doesn't matter. Okay, fair enough.
Footballers,
rich guys, rich blokes.
Some rich blokes. And I didn't actually meet them, but the original squad, what was left of the original, not the original, the 66 squad. That we did some stuff with them. I've got a book signed by, let me get it right, Jeff Hurst.
Definitely Hurst. I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm showing my ignorance. Steve, our bass player, is probably the biggest football fan. So he was sort of trotted out for a lot of the interviews. But the press was insane, and the amount of interviews we got. were huge. So I had to obviously take some of them on, and I did this interview with this sports journalist, football journalist, and he said, "Who do you think the next manager is going to be?" So I think they changed managers, and I thought, well, I don't know who's the manager at the moment. So I just can't remember saying, "Well, it's a difficult one." I said, "I don't know if I should say. I know I've got in my mind, but I don't know if I should say." And the guy said, "Yeah, you're probably right." And I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't even know who's managing them now.
You blagged your way out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had a lot of managers, I think. But yeah, obviously we get a lot of the press in Wales as well about the England team, especially back then when our Welsh team was pretty crap. We're quite good now. We're fairly decent, but so it's kind of nice to actually be able to follow our own national team, and they can actually be in the competition. So
Yeah, haven't you got one of the highest paid players in the world?
we got Gareth Bale.
Yeah, that's
You've heard of him? Yeah.
He's just hasn't he just come back for
Yeah, he's just come back from Real Madrid, and he's gone to Spurs.
what's it, 600,000 a week?
Probably something like that. It's insane, isn't it? It's absolutely insane. I do like. I'm not hugely into football. I like football. I like kind of keeping up to date with it to some degree, but I'm not obsessive over it. I like going to watch it, or going for a few beers with mates. But I hate the fact that they get paid so much money, and it's just not fair. The money should go somewhere else where people are desperate and they can't feed themselves and they're homeless, and there's people who get paid £600,000 a week. It's insane. It annoys me.
I would feel slightly guilty myself, but anyway, moving on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, so you've mentioned some of the stadium shows. Before I started pressing record, you said you did the Tsunami gig in the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. What other massive shows have you done with Embrace that you remember?
Well, the Coldplay ones, obviously. We did our own sort of arena tour, the one and only arena tour. We did. Actually, no, we did Leeds Arena this year, didn't we? But we did back in 2005. We did like the MEN in Manchester. Interesting story associated with that. Probably one of our biggest own gigs, if you like. 12,000 people there, whatever, and we massive stages that we weren't used to. We were used to sort of normal size, whatever stages. But I can't remember which song we were in, but it's like halfway through the show, and we had problems with the mixing desk, and we were all in monitors. And at one point, our Beaver, our roadie, walked across the front of the stage with a piece of paper saying, "Your monitors are going to go off for a couple of minutes completely." So we had to carry on, and it was like sound gone. Playing along, and they had to reset the desk and bring another desk in, and it kind of ruined one of the best gigs that we'd ever had, because it just, things like that throw you completely. But in front of that many people, and just suddenly your lifeline, which is what you can hear, which you need to obviously as a musician hear all the rest of the people. We haven't got loads of amps on stage because we're all in-eared up and everything.
Right, yeah.
So
there's no actual. There's not a lot of volume coming from amplifiers to actually go off. Wow.
No. So it was you could hear the PA, but obviously that's bouncing back from miles away.
Yeah.
But that was quite scary. But yeah, I mean, we've done, I think one of the most memorable shows, and for a couple of reasons, was we did Glastonbury back in 2000. But we supported David Bowie on the main stage.
Oh wow!
And I'm a massive David Bowie fan. I think he's just a genius, or was a genius. And we got to play before him on the main stage. It was the year when everyone broke in, so I think they estimated that the field had about 100,000 people in front of the stage we were on. So it was huge. So yeah, things like that. And the Millennium Square, a place in Leeds, we did a couple of nights there, which was a big open air square back in 2005. And then a place called Peace Hall last year, which was a place in Halifax near us, which is a really old, I don't know what it's called, a big sort of square that's been renovated that holds about 6,000 people. And we did that last year, which was amazing, on a beautiful sunny day. So we've had our share of bigger events, and but I can pinpoint far smaller gigs that were just as great. I know it's a cliche, isn't it? Everyone says, "Oh yeah, it's not the size of the gig. It's I want to see the whites of their eyes." But sometimes being a sweaty club, I've got another band called Land Sharks that is a kind of side project, me and Steve, which is more.
It's like a more punk rock, would you say?
Yeah,
I had a
more
quick listen.
Yeah, it's kind of quite. We just do it for fun, really. There's myself and Steve from our band. There's Beaver, who's the aforementioned roadie, who's an amazing keyboardist, and then we've got Sam from Wayward Sons on guitar, and Mikey Shiraz from Mr. Shiraz on vocals. So and we just write stuff and record it in my studio here. And then just go out and play, in little places. Mikey runs the place called the Parish Pump in Huddersfield. It's got a little venue there, and we've played there a few times.
Cool.
I love those gigs as well. Just sweaty gigs, no in-ear monitors, just amps cranked up on the stage, old style.
Nice.
Right.
You'll smash the kit. Amazing. I was about to ask you about them, so you kind of answered that. Have you got any recorded material for people to listen to?
Go on Spotify. 2 EPs on Spotify. Yeah. There's 2 EPs on there. Check them out. There's more stuff to come fairly soon when we can get back in. But
yeah, awesome. So check out them. Right. So now let's talk about Code Drumheads.
Yes.
Which is a company, I believe you're one of the directors.
Yeah,
is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right, Dane. James Potts started it about 5 years ago, and then he developed it to a point, and then he was looking for players to try the heads, and he embraced one of his favourite bands, so he asked me. I tried them, liked them. I was endorsed by Remo at the time. I've been for about 10 years. And I was at a position where I've always wanted to get involved with something to do with making a drum kit or making something to do with a kit, cymbals, whatever. So I said, well, yeah, I'll use them, but let me buy into it, and we'll build it together. And that's how I got involved to build the brand, make the heads original, so they're not just copy heads. They've changed a lot since I spoke to you in the first place.
Yeah,
we've now got our own developed way of holding the heads in this double deep knurled method that I've developed. We've got 3 or 4 ranges that are ours and no one else's. Obviously got your stock single twin ply stuff, but it's something we're developing, and it's. We went over to NAMM, the show over in LA in January this year for the first time. I had a tiny little stand there, and it's interesting because we're at this massive, the biggest show in the world, musical instrument show in the world, and there's Remo, Evans, and Aquarian, and that's it.
Then you,
and then us in an 8-foot square stand, and we got a lot of interest. And since then, we've picked up a new German distributor. We've got a big one in France. We're moving into Norway, Sweden, Benelux countries. It's COVID restricting, obviously, trade to a degree. We had other territories that were just about to sign up. But it's gone from being this little tiny thing to gradually, growing to do like a few thousand heads a month now. And it's it's just something I love being interested. I love being involved with. It took us a while to get it right. I think when you first tried it, I'm not ashamed to say people had issues with the heads, and they came across as a cheaper brand. But we've developed it now to the point where the coating is really good, the sound them's great. And our hashtag is trust your ears, try them, and if you like them, use them.
Yeah.
If you don't, it's it's personal to you as a drummer. You know this very well. Your heads and their interaction with your shells. It's a very personal thing. They work for some people. They don't work for others. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as any drum, any drum or any cymbal or anything. So it's building really nicely, and I'm very proud of what we do. And hopefully, touch wood, when we get through all this, everything to do with COVID and the world opens up again, we'll be we'll be able to spread the word even more.
Yeah, you can keep growing the company, and that's amazing to know you can get them in some of the other countries in Europe now, because I was going to ask about that. I thought it might have just been UK, but yeah. So I've got a lot of listeners from. Well, I've got some in Germany and Scandinavia, Australia, USA. So is it just Europe at the moment, would you say?
No, we're working with the Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican?
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
It's kind of came out of the really uh, strange contact, but he's Edwin. He's bringing them over into Puerto Rico, but he's also bringing them to the States now.
Great.
So
Okay.
they're coming into a warehouse in Connecticut, and we are going to gradually work our way across the states. It's going to be the most difficult thing. We know this because our competition are all American. But
Yeah, and that's. Oh, yeah, I've lost
I'm
you.
oh, you got back again. You're back again. But it's so we know it's going to be incredibly difficult in the states, especially with the way that that Trump is as well. Everything's got to be American, which I understand that as well. But yeah, we're in Germany with a company called Music Bean. So where else are we? Yeah, Turkey, Poland, France, Benelux, Scandinavia. Across a lot of Europe now, and we were just about to move into China and South America when COVID happened,
Yeah.
and Australia and Japan. Hopefully, they will come online as soon as we get back to normal.
Yeah. So that's amazing. Obviously, I was going to say it must be daunting trying to go up against the big three or the big two plus the other one. Um, but would you say you're trying to still appeal to? Well, one of your selling points is that your prices are a little bit lower than
Yeah,
those bigger brands.
yeah,
So if anyone wants to try them out, I recommend. I've tried a lot of them in the past. I think you've got some new ranges now since I tried them, and
yeah.
I thought they sounded really, really great and just as good as some of those other brands. So
That's it.
I would
We are.
recommend someone tries them.
No, thank you. I mean, we are. We're definitely comparable quality. We are a little bit cheaper, which hopefully will help in times at the moment and going ahead.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and like I say, all we ask is try them out. If you
Yeah.
don't like them, it's fine. It's a catch. It's a bit of is that a catch 22 the right word? Because you've got an industry where it's really unusual to only have two really main players in the whole of the world.
It
It's
is. Yeah.
very unusual, which is great, but it's also very difficult because everyone goes into a drum shop and says, well, predominantly, I want some drum heads, Remo, lesser so, Evans, and obviously Aquarian there as well. But generally, everyone just knows the Remo and Evans brand. So you're breaking into a market that is well sealed up at the moment. But we'll get there. We'll break it down. We'll
Yeah.
succeed.
No, but good luck.
Thank you.
Obviously, I'll put the website address on the description if anyone wants to go and have a look. And you've got some great endorsees as well,
Yeah.
obviously including yourself. But what are some of the other ones you want to mention?
Yeah, well, I mean, people like Russ Gilbrook, who are on board, James Price from Nothing But Thieves. There's a good cross section of people involved,
Yeah.
and sorry, you
I was
say?
going to say, yeah, you've got some like Russell Gilbrook from Uriah Heep, and
Yeah,
some of the kind of the up and coming modern rock bands are using them as well. I've noticed, which is really cool.
absolutely. I mean, and then this is what it's great to have the really high profile players like Pete Salisbury from the Charlatans and the Verve and stuff like that. But the sort of and this is no respect, but the sort of mid level, the foot soldiers we call them. People who are more willing to do your social media and help you out, because a lot of the high level players. And I know this from personal experience. They don't. They just take the gear and they just do their thing, But it really works for us, the people that get really involved in the brand, and we like to support them as much as we can by offering some really good deals for the sort of the sort of the mid levels, if you like.
Yeah.
So it's working well, and we've taken a lot of those players now and involved them with. I don't know if you don't know about the education thing that we're doing.
No, I don't. Sorry.
It's a completely. This is the t-shirt actually. It's a separate company, so people don't get confused. It's called Drum Ed,
Right.
so short for Drum Education, and it's an online resource base. We've got our own little studio. We shoot lessons in, and we shoot lessons here and stuff. And that's launched now, just launched, and we're developing an app, a play along app for drummers to go with it.
Ah, nice.
That's a completely separate thing. So if anyone's watching there and is interested in learning, there's myself and Rich Wilson from Raw Studios in Halifax, a great educator, we do the lessons together, filmed, and I set him to sort of play bass along with the ideas. So I'm putting music into it, so it's not just drumming. It's how to play together, and the
Sounds
idea.
great.
Well, he sort of gives the main lesson, and then I'm kind of there as the guy who who would be on the other side of the camera. So, if you're watching a lesson and you want to ask a question, you never can, obviously, because you're watching a YouTube video. Rich will do something. I'll go, well, if I was watching that, maybe slow that down and can you just explain that a bit better? So I kind of dissect it more. So hopefully it gives more information. But anyway, that's
That's amazing. I didn't know that. So yeah,
yes.
good plug. This is what you're here for. Yeah, plug whatever you want to plug, and I'll check that out because I think there's a room in the market for that because there's so many drum videos online.
Yeah.
YouTube it's millions and millions of drum videos on YouTube, and most of them are just guys playing so much. It's really impressive and it's amazing. But obviously, there's some great educators on there as well. There are that slow it down and break it down. But there's so many things. I'm like I get sent links all the time, and I don't have time to watch them all. But it's like, oh yeah, that's great. It's like I can't do that. He's not telling me how to do it. It's kind of like, it's kind of pointless for me to watch it. It just makes me feel crap.
Yeah, and a lot of time it's completely unusable in music.
Exactly.
In a
And
band situation, should I say? Yeah.
Yeah, especially a rock band like mine. Like I'd love to be able to do all those things. I don't have the time to learn how to do all those things, but I'd like to learn some more things I can apply to my band. That would be great. So
Yeah. I mean, have a look. We're catering for everybody. We're trying to go from absolutely, if you can count to 4, you can play the drums all the way through higher and stuff. But yeah, it's drum-ed.com.
Right.
If your viewers are interested.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was gonna say if for any bands that they're in touring bands and they might be looking to try Code Drumheads or they've tried them before, is there any? Can they apply to be an endorsee, or what would you expect from them before they should even bother trying?
I mean, obviously, we can't afford to give away too much to stuff. So, but so we tend to, because I deal with all the artist liaisons. So if you go on our website, get my different companies mixed up, codedrumheads.co.uk, and then if you go to the endorsee section, you can just press the button and you can apply there. So okay. anyone can apply. Just fill in the questionnaire. Then I look through all of them. I get quite a few a week, and I've got to be a bit brutal because I've got to look at what the artist can do for us.
Of course.
As well. So I tend to look at their social media profiles and see how many likes, how many follows, etc. they've got. And if I think it's somebody that's on the right sort of trajectory or has got the amount of follows, and it's not a specific amount, it's difficult. People say, well, how many do I need? It's like, well, I weigh up a lot of different things. It's not just how many Facebook likes you've got. It's, look at your Instagram and other things. And if I like I like the band,
yeah.
It's if sometimes there'll be a band that hasn't got really much of a presence, but I'll listen to it and go, wow, I love this band. I don't care that no one's heard of you. Do you want to have an endorsement? Because I just love what you're doing. And we're lucky, but we can do that. So yeah, you just go on, just apply. Anyone can apply. I'll assess it, and you'll either get an email that says, yeah, we'll offer you one of 2 different levels. There's red or orange. Orange is 40% off resale roughly, and red's like 50% off retail.
Okay.
So they're pretty good deals. Bear in mind we are slightly less anyway, probably 15-20% less than the competitors anyway. So yeah, anyone can apply. It's great, and you never know. You might just, like I say, it's not rigid in the amount of people you're following. If you're a great band, because I'm a lover of music first and foremost.
Yeah.
I'm well up for helping bands out.
Fantastic. Talking about going back to live playing now, do you have any specific warm-ups or warm-up techniques or rituals that you kind of apply, or is that something?
Yeah, I mean, I warm up more than I used to. I never used to, because back in the day it was always, you don't need to warm up, which obviously is rubbish. It does help you, because I used to not warm up, then warm up with a few drinks basically, and then go on stage, and after the second song you're absolutely going for it, and you're just drenched and you're just worn out, and then I'd have a lull of about 3 songs while I was getting my stamina back, and I've realised if you warm up properly, you can dive in at that sort of level, but you're ready for it, so you can do it. So it is key. I think I heard the Chili Peppers play for 40 minutes backstage before they even hit the stage. when we played with Coldplay, Chris Martin's in this hot room running for like an hour.
Really?
Oh yeah, before he even goes on the stage, So warming up can definitely help. But I mean, in terms of warming up, it's just really, just your basic kind of rudiments and stuff. I'll just sit working through different patterns for probably 10, 15 minutes. So yeah, not massive, but just enough to get my hands moving and shaking them out and stuff like that, and sort of jumping around, getting the legs moving, just getting the blood flowing really. But I haven't got any particular special warm. They're just a combination of whatever springs to mind on that day really.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people have said. They say just play simple stuff on your practice pad.
Even if you just
Singles and just do singles.
Yeah, just sitting there and getting it, because a lot of the rock stuff and my stuff, and your stuff, it is based around singles.
Yeah.
And then just adding a few, paradiddles and stuff like that, and just kind of just playing about with whatever's there, and trying to get the left hand speed up on the left hand, which is the weaker side. It's that old. Are you right hand?
I'm right-handed. Yeah.
So
my left hand is crap.
Exactly, and that's something I focus on a lot in the teaching. That's come up and become very popular over the last few years, because it's just common sense. If you think about it, the very, very simple, single stroke. You can only play a single stroke as fast as your slowest hand.
Yeah, that's true.
It's even. So if this hand can play at that speed and this hand can play at that speed, you can only ever play at that speed as an even single. And I think that's why a lot of young drummers sound a bit rough, because they're going around the toms trying to do these fills, and they just the weaker side, the right or the left, depending on what they are, can't keep up. But anyway, we're getting to drum teaching now. But developing the left hand side.
Yeah. One thing I remember my old teacher telling me was to do everyday tasks that you would normally do with your right hand, do it with your left hand, like brushing your teeth.
That's it, yeah.
Stirring your porridge or something. Just little things like that apparently help. So I've started doing that again recently, actually. I don't think about it, but
it makes a massive difference, doesn't it? Because you think about it, and it's the old thing, isn't it, about going. Just playing simple grooves open-handed.
Yeah.
Is a phenomenal way of getting that left hand up to speed. So just open your hands out.
Great.
Do a bit of that.
Thanks for the free drum lesson.
All right.
Yeah. So you mentioned the British drum company. What gear do you use at the moment altogether?
I'm using their on this kit setup at the moment. I've got their this is what you call their Bluebird snare, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's chrome over brass, so it has similarities in sound, shall we say, to a Black Beauty.
Yeah.
Which is a Black Beauty or a 402 were always my go-to recording snare, which is what's on the kit across there.
Right.
So I'm using that, and then the rest of the kit is their Legend series, 13, 16, 24, which just beautiful open drums that really sing. And then you can't really see them here, but basically this friend of ours who did some artwork for our last live album, he reinterpreted our first album cover in like a splatter.
Oh, wow.
So basically,
That's
when
amazing.
I saw his artwork, I said, Chubb, will you paint a drum for me? So I got the shells off British Drum Company, and all these, they gave me the bare shells. He hand painted them all. And then they put, this is a ridiculous 8-inch deep thing. It's
That's
just
amazing.
It's crazy. It's deep as hell. And then they lacquered them up with 20 layers of lacquer and put them all back together again. And that's what that whole kit is. It's all that sort of hand painted finish.
Beautiful.
But they are. The attention to detail of their kits is second to none. I was with Premier for years before that. Who Keith, who runs British Drum Company, he used to make latterly their drums in the UK. They're all their custom stuff, and he had KD drums before. That was his first custom drum making company. So he's a master drum maker. The kit they've just made for Nico is just insane that they launched it at NAMM. But yeah, just great drums, and they cover all areas now. They've got loads of different snare drums now, different finishes, different compositions.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
lot of-
just yeah.
Have you heard a lot of good stuff? And I knew there was some form of Premier link
Mm.
somewhere. And isn't Al Murray, the comedian, involved
He
somehow?
is, yeah, yeah. He kind of enabled it to happen really because he sort of funded a lot of the startup of it.
Right.
He's a very keen drummer, lovely guy, um, and yeah, he's still very much involved with the company. And you've got Ian Matthews from Kasabian, he's part of the company as well, and Pete Salisbury from the Charlton the Verve. Charlton the Verve. He's involved with it as well. So yeah, it's good company.
Yeah. So if anyone's not familiar, British drum company,
Mm-hmm.
relatively new drum brand. So check them out.
Yeah,
A lot
absolutely.
of competition out there as well, but there's a lot of great people. A lot of people saying great things from what I've heard. So
They're growing massively
yeah,
worldwide. Yeah,
yeah.
they're in every country you can think of now. They really are doing a good job.
But if Nico McBrain is using them, that's, you've got to be good enough
Yes.
for everyone
Yeah,
else. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
interesting there because he hadn't long gone back to Sona, and then all of a sudden he ditched Sona and he was using British Drum Company all of a sudden. So that was no one really. He's never really announced what happened there. So that's quite an interesting thing for
I,
me.
I think he just he's always been a fan of the British product.
Yeah,
He was with Premier for years, obviously.
yeah,
And I think Sono was good for him. But then I think when there was a new British drum company, I think that just ignited his sort of okay, I'm British. This company's British.
that's fair enough.
I think it was fairly simple. I think that's why he got involved because he's part owner of a drum shop in Manchester now as well called
Yeah,
Drum One. So even though I think he lives in California most of the time now, he's he's still heavily involved with it.
cool. And is it Zildjian cymbals you use?
Yeah, that's Zildjian. I've been a Zildjian artist now. Well, last year I got my certificate for my 20 years
Wow.
of being with them, which I never realised I'd been with them that long. I think that was a couple of years ago. So yeah, I've always used them. You know, I was as a kid, I was a big Peisty fan. 2002 was one of the first big rides I got, and that was because of Bonham.
Yeah.
You know, because unfortunately, I'm just really boring, and he's my favourite drummer.
Most people's favorite drummer.
But then I got some Zildjian cymbals when I was sort of in late teens and really liked them. And then they approached me when we got signed, and I've been there ever since. And I've just moved to these to some different ones for me. These are the custom special dry ones, which are really trashy.
Okay.
And I've also moved at the moment to 15-inch hats. I've always been 14s, but these are 15.
I'm a 15 guy.
Yeah, I love them now. When I go back to my Overkitto across there, it's got 14s on. It's like they've got like splashes or something. That feels really small.
Yeah.
But yeah, and these the Karopi ones. I've got a couple of those in the ride over there that are really nice. And it's really, really sad news that they had to let Tina Clark go because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they made her redundant a few weeks ago, and she was the one. You know, she'd been there 25 years. I've been with them 22 years, so she hadn't been there long when, you know, she sort of got me on board, and she's a fantastic person, fantastic ambassador for their brand and really helpful. So, but this is just a sign of what's happening in. Through COVID, it's having an effect on the big companies as well.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, a lot of people I know within the industry, and I've seen booking agents being let go, and which is, I guess,
disappearing.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Our coach company went, I think, about a month ago.
Really,
that we use all the time. So that was a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah. So we're all struggling, guys. If you're listening and you're not in the industry, pretty much everyone within the industry is struggling. So if there's any opportunities there's a lot of charities about and people raising money. We've just announced a T-shirt design.
I saw that.
The money's going to go to our road crew because they're not in work at the moment. So I guess that's a bit of more of a personal it's not a charity, obviously, but we just thought it was a nice thing to do because we'd booked them for tours and festivals all year, but none of them happened. At least we were able to still release an album, so we
Yeah.
can still sell a few records, but they can't. So
No,
this is our little thing, little gesture
I
from
think so.
us to them as a thank you. And
Nice thing to do. Nice thing.
but
When I saw it before I came on here, I saw it on the Facebook feed and thought, yeah, that's
ah,
good.
cool. Yeah. So if more bands do things like that, it helps. Basically those guys who have probably been self-employed roadies or whatever for years and years, they might have to go and do something completely different now if there's no support from the government. So they might not be able to come on tour next year because they're going to be busy working in their kind of normal job, and which they
Mm.
probably think is secure. So I can understand
It's
if a lot of people leave.
it's really. I mean, even from our point of view, I, obviously we're self-employed, but I couldn't claim anything because a lot of the money, not wishing to go into my finances too much,
No,
but
of
a
course
lot
not.
of the money we pay ourselves using dividends, which there's nothing illegal about that. It's just slightly beneficial. But
Yeah,
if you do that,
you
then you
know,
get nothing. So when
yeah,
I
nothing.
typed my tax code, it went nothing at all.
Yeah,
So going from a good year earlier this year, doing Leeds Arena and stuff like that, and it was good. To having no income at all, really, which is why the teaching has been a godsend for me to be able to keep that, because I moved to my teaching online,
yeah,
and to be able to keep that going, has been really helpful. But if this carries on through next year, then it's going to be really, really serious.
I agree.
I can keep going until next year. There are ways and means, but yeah, if it keeps going, it's going to be a big rethink as to what the hell I do,
Yeah,
and what we do. But
yeah,
anyway, I think we'll come through it and we'll be fine. So looking on the positive note,
yeah, yeah.
I think by the time we come through it, hopefully early next year, the appetite to see live music will be phenomenal. So I think if we can get through it by early next year and get back on the road, then I think there'll be a good couple of years where people just want to go out and see bands and just enjoy themselves again. So
Yeah,
fingers crossed for that for everybody.
totally. Yeah, I have a positive outlook on it.
Yeah,
I'm
got it.
the same, definitely. So point thinking, oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But yeah, I'm the same as you, man. So fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Um, uh, one thing before we finish, then, if you don't mind, I've got a Patreon page, and one of the benefits of the top tier, the Groove Masters, is that
Hmm.
they get to ask one of my guests a question. So I've got a question here from Steve Hancock,
Okay.
and it's being known as a drummer in a indie rock band. Do you have any musical influences that might surprise people? I think he's referring to, are there any like bands or
Uh,
musicians you like that people might not be aware that you'd like? I think he means
um,
or they
yeah, I
might be
mean, my,
shocked.
my musical. Well, Steve was it?
Steve, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. My musical tastes are massively varied. They really are. I mean, I've just been listening to, stuff like, is it Fuzz, the Ty Segall, the other thing that he does, which is, full on heavy. The new Idols album, I love. I said earlier, I was a big Pistols fan. All the punk side of things. I love that side of things. So I can get kind of quite hardcore metal wise in the 80s, and I was out, yeah, hair metal man. I mean look at this now. It was down here. It was down here in the 80s. Donington was a staple. This week particularly, I've been listening to a lot of Van Halen.
Yeah.
Because Eddie was and the band were just a massive influence. I just think they were incredible. And even though they were more popular after Dave Lee Roth left, I'm still a sucker for all the early albums. So I listen to all sorts of stuff. Throwing a bit of disco in there. I
Mm.
probably don't listen to a lot of indie type stuff, and I'm just looking as we speak at my Spotify list. Oh, he is in indie. What else have I been listening to? Big fan of Biffy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
new album's amazing. What else have I been listening to recently? This week I was going back and had a bit of nostalgia. There was a band called Clout, a song called Substitute from the '70s.
Okay.
Transvision Vamp, who were a band from the '90s. Going back to listen to a bit of Def Leppard. I saw Def Leppard on their first tour.
Oh wow.
Um, Flaming Lips, Doves, Fuzz are great. That Ty Segall side project, which is just Fuzz basically. And then you got to come on things like Style Council,
Okay.
so Jam, Style Council. I mean, I'll listen to anything that I think's good. I get stuck on reggae a bit. I know there is good reggae. I'm not saying there isn't, because I don't want to get shot, but it's just one of the things I don't kind of really get. I can listen to just about anything else, and heavy sort of dance music doesn't float my boat.
Okay.
So I'm definitely more rock and punk rather than indie.
Interesting. Okay. In fact, thanks for answering. That's a really great answer.
Sorry.
That's cool. So this is the last thing I'm going to ask. I ask it to all of my guests.
Yeah.
So if you could create your own dream band with yourself on drums, who else would be playing the other instruments? They can be dead or alive.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I had this a while ago because somebody said, which band would you love to be in?
Okay, similar.
If you could be in any band.
And I forgot to mention, you're not allowed to say anyone from Embrace.
All right, okay.
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to say, "Oh, I'll just play in Embrace."
Not them guys, no.
Yeah.
If somebody, it's like the way I answer this one is if somebody said, because John Bonham, right, my hero, obviously, if Robert Plant rang him and said, "Oh, will you come and play for Led Zeppelin?" Then I would love to do it, but I'm not able to, so I'd have to back away from that. But if somebody said, "We're reforming the Sex Pistols, and could you take Paul Cook's place or the Clash?" Then I would love to do that. So I'd love to play with Steve Jones on guitar.
Cool.
Maybe Steve Jones on guitar, maybe Plant on vocals, or maybe Dio.
Ooh.
Tricky. Yeah. I'm a big
Nice.
big Ronnie fan as well. And then bass wise, get Lemmy on bass, obviously.
Cool.
And then keyboards, I think we'd probably pop Rick Wakeman in there.
Nice.
So,
I love hearing the answers because they're always so different. And well, sometimes like Lemmy's been in a few times, and you had Dave Grohl, and it's the first time Robert Plant's been in, which is shocking because he's one of the greatest vocalists, and Dio, absolutely amazing, but very different from each other.
Yeah, completely. And Ozzy as well. Ozzy in the day, phenomenal vocal.
Mental.
Yeah.
Amazing, Mike. Well, thanks so much for taking the time this afternoon to have a chat with me, and been very interesting. And it's nice to catch up. It's been a long time since we've really had a good chat. So
absolutely, no. It's, thank you for asking me, Dane. It's been great fun.
No problem. I'll make sure everyone checks out Code Drumheads and Drumhead. Sorry, Drumhead. Yeah, not Drumhead. So for the educational stuff, and I'll definitely check that out myself as well. So, and good luck with this year and next year, and whatever happens with Embrace in the future as well.
Thank you, and good luck with your album, and hopefully touring, and you'll be all back out and doing what we all do best, next year.
Yeah, it's the only thing I can do.
Yeah, it's not much else. I actually trained as a textile designer before years ago.
Oh, really?
I ain't going back to that.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned before in a few other episodes, I've actually got myself a part-time job just for the time being, but doing food packing a few days a week. But it's just, I'm just thinking it's probably a wise decision to do something.
You've just got to do what you can do.
Yeah.
You can't just sit back and go, "Oh my God!" You've got to just do what you can do, get through it,
yeah,
and then look forward to the bright musical future that there will
be. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I'm very envious of your studio with real drums. I've got an electric kit in the house, but I haven't got anywhere I can set up my real drums, and I miss it so much.
Well, I had to build a room within a room, literally. I'm actually in my what was my parents' house that my dad built, and then they both passed away now. But I ended up coming back here and taking what was his workshop and building a room within a room, so I can come in here. And I know I'm very lucky to be able to just whack the hell out of the kit any time, day or night. So it's sometimes you just need to do that, don't you?
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Well, cheers again, Mike. Have a great great evening, and thanks again.
Okay, take care. I'll see you
Cheers.
soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Cheers.
Drum for the Song podcast.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that one, guys. Let me know what your favourite parts were. Let me know on social media, Drum for the Song on Instagram and Twitter, or Dane_drums. Or on Facebook, Dane Campbell Drummer, or you can join the Drum for the Song official Facebook group. If you've just discovered this podcast via this episode, you can go back and listen to some of the other ones, and preferably subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube, or preferably both. If you're listening on Apple Music or iTunes, I'd love it if you could leave me a written review, as it helps with the search ratings, and at the moment I could do with every bit of help possible. If you've enjoyed a lot of my podcasts and think you'll keep enjoying them, please consider supporting me on my Patreon page, which is patreon.com/drumforthesong. There are various tiers on there, which you can support me by paying a certain amount per month, starting from £1 going up to £10. The benefits increase the more you pay. But the main things are that I do a monthly bonus episode, and I do a monthly Q&A call online, like a video call. I was doing it on Zoom, but I might try Skype this time. So you just have to keep up to date with what I'm using at the time. The money that I receive from Patreon is really, really helping me improve the podcast. From when I did the first episode, I just bought a cheap USB microphone from Amazon and plugged it into my laptop. But now I've got a proper USB interface. I've got a really good professional microphone. So it's really helping me so far. So thanks so much if you are already subscribing. One of the benefits of being one of my top tier patrons is that I give you a shout out in the episode. So I'll do that now at the time of recording. Thank you to my Groove Masters, Dean S. Monaghan, Rudy Pawley, Dan Hurst, Gareth Richards, and Steve Hancock. Cheers, boys. I look forward to speaking to you on the next Q&A. One thing is, I'd really love to hear who you'd like me to get on the podcast in future. So that's one thing you can let me know online. I've got a big list of people I'd love to get and people I'm hoping to approach soon. But I'm always up for some new additions to that, or people I may not have heard of. So thanks. And yeah, it'd be good to get some females on, I think. What do you think? I've just realised everyone's been male so far, so that hasn't been an intentional thing. So any good female drummers that you're aware of, let me know. I'll try and get them on. So that's about it for episode 11 then, guys. Thanks again for listening this far. Just to remind you, if you see any of my posts come up on your feed, on social media, please at least give it a like, or feel free to comment or share as well. It really, really does help promote the podcast in an organic way. I know it seems lame, but I spend so long posting different stories and videos and clips on the social media pages, and it really gets me down when I don't get a reach or no one replies. So yeah, just help me out there. That'd be great. Thanks. So thanks again for listening to this episode with Mike Heaton. Don't forget to go back and check my other episodes just in case you've missed one or 9. Yeah, so I hope you're all staying safe. We're in these weird times again. We're in second lockdowns. I'm currently in a national lockdown in Wales, and all the shops are closed again at the time of making this anyway. So yeah, stay safe, keep away from each other, wear your masks. Yeah, and if you're a drummer, until next time, and don't forget to drum for the song.